Hi there, I'm Eric Wordweaver Sjerven, goalie of the Ridgar folk here in East Texas. I'd like to welcome you to the Raven's Call. This is a show where I ramble on about different heathen-related subjects, just kind of whatever strikes my fancy at the time. Now, this is part 2 of my shame versus guilt culture video series. It's only a 2-parter, don't worry guys. I'm not going to go on for like the Soul Complex where it was like a month-long run. No, this is just the second half of that because the video was running kind of long and I figured that nobody wanted to sit and watch an hour-long video on shame versus guilt in one go. So in the last video we talked about the definition of shame versus guilt and kind of the functionality of shame and guilt. Again, I have an essay that breaks down kind of the mechanics of these things and my overall viewpoints. It's up on Wordweaver Productions. That's Word-Weaver Productions on Facebook. Check it out and give it a read. It'll give you kind of the fill in the blanks. This is the kind of thing where it's fairly complex. Even though it should be a basic thing, it's more complicated than that. And so it was easier for me to put into writing a lot of these things. But in some ways, I explain things better when I'm just sitting and rambling. So take both of them and you might get a little bit of what's going on in my head about the whole. Okay, so let's look at, I'm not going to go over the mechanics and stuff again. You've already got that from the first video. If not, go back and watch the first video. Stop right here. Go back, watch the first video, otherwise a lot of this isn't going to make sense, okay? So, let's get back into things. We're going to look at some of the application of shame in the modern heathen societal constructs and whatnot. Now again, you know, we talked about shame and the way that shame is applied, okay? We looked at a basic example with Bjorn and Arne, and Arne's theft from the miller's son. Again, that doesn't have any impact on the actual sagas. Please don't think in my other stories that Arne ever did anything like that. Not the case, okay? So, we've explored that particular example. Now, I want to look at some of the differing levels in which shame can function within that paradigm, okay? We saw basically how, from a top-down view, Bjorn expresses his disappointment to Arne, and then Arne is set on a course to correct his behavior and either get zero-sum, where he's back kind of just in generally good standing, or if he does above and beyond, he can actually win the favor. We looked at it in relation to clearing the name with the millers, okay? We look at it in clearing Arne's shame from Bjorn. So it exists within a tribe as far as between the individual members. It exists between individuals outside of tribes, okay? The Bjorn example with Arne is within tribal boundaries, okay? It's within the social construct. It can exist between two social constructs, such as between Bjorn's family and the miller's family, because Bjorn's family has transgressed against the miller's family, and there is shame exchange going on there. So there is shame from Bjorn to Arne, but there's also shame between Bjorn's family and the miller's family. Well, from the millers to Bjorn's. Torfsons, however you want to. So the way that layers out is we've got it on an individual level within the tribe. We have it on an inter-tribal level, but it also exists on a macro level above that, okay? What I mean by that is that in this exchange between Bjorn and the millers family, Miller is his job, between Bjorn and the Miller family, what you have is a situation where everyone's looking in to see how Bjorn is going to handle this situation. How is the Miller's family going to handle this situation? And I'm just going to name them the Johanssons so that we're not dealing with any more of the Millers kind of stuff. Miller is the job, the Johanssons is the name. All right, so between Bjorn's family and the Johanssons, you've got this shame exchange going. The Thorolfsons have offended the Johanssons, and shame is applied. And then the Thorolfsons go through the process of washing away the shame. They go above and beyond in how they handle it, and admitting their culpability, fixing the situation, and giving extra in order to repair social damages in that social debt they have incurred through the transgression against this other social construct. Now, this is all within the social contract of the village or the tribe. Okay, this exists within social contracts. It's a key thing, and I'm going to come back to later. Shame exists within a social contract. It does not exist outside of the social contract. It has no power outside the social contract. We'll come back to that. Okay, so we've seen Bjorn Thorolfsson's family and the Johansson's family. The world is looking in to see how these two individuals handle it. Like I said, Bjorn's family goes through all of that and above and beyond, and so what they end up doing is gaining renown from everyone who's watching in. It affects their reputation with the other families within the social construct that then say, you know, he held up well, he was honorable, he did what he was supposed to do, his boy represented the family well, so the Thorolfssons are good in our book. If they had done poorly and they had failed to fix the situation with the Johanssons, if they had only just barely gotten by, or if they had not done anything at all, if they had refused culpability in all of this, what that ends up doing is they're just heaping shame on the Thorolfssons at that point from the Johanssons, and then the rest of the village looking in on them sees this shameful, not just the initial shameful act, but the shameful way they're handling themselves in recompense for that, and thusly it damages their reputation with the village as a whole. So as you can see, it exists between Bjorn and Arne within the family. It exists within the social construct to social construct relationship within the contract of the Thorolfssons to the Johanssons, and then it also exists on a macro level within the social contract, the social construct of the village as a whole, wherein the Thorolfssons' reputation as a whole is impacted on how they handle this. Shame is applied from each of these angles. It is applied from Bjorn to Arne, from the Johanssons to the Thorolfssons, and from the village as a whole to the Thorolfsson family. Okay? So, shame is applied across multiple stratifications within that, and it's a give and take process in all of it. Okay? It is not, even though they may make this good, okay, over here with the Johanssons, if they had done similarly with other families and they were only okay on the Johanssons, you know, if the, we're going to go back to math here for a second because I kind of do that a lot. Let's say that, you know, the offense to the Johanssons got them, you know, -4 on the scale. You know, we're down on the whole shame side, so -4 because of shame. And then they fix it, but they only fix it, you know, +3, so it takes them to a -1. We're okay, but I don't like you guys. You owe me one kind of deal, you know? But if they did the same thing over here with a different family, and they did the same thing with the Olsons over there, then they've got a -1, -1, -1, and as a debt to the village, all of a sudden they have a -3. So it builds on itself. The reputation builds on itself, and it's not a one-for-one kind of thing. So shame is applied by the village onto them, saying, look, you guys just barely make it through all the time. You don't make good on your social debts when a member of your family screws up. So we're going to start seeing you as screw-ups, and we're not going to trust you anymore. Not only that, we're not going to do business with you because we don't feel like you're trustworthy. We're not going to come to your aid when you need it because we don't think you're trustworthy. We don't think you're going to reciprocate. We have no reason to support you in this, that kind of thing. So that's how it exists within the stratification, all right? This is still applied today. We still apply it within our social constructs, within our tribes, within our kindreds. But I see bleed over in areas that it should not be. And this is where I'm going to get on my soapbox just a little bit, okay? You can look into the SAC a little bit of this, but I'm going to go on a little bit of a tirade here. And that is that, as I said before, Shame applies within the social contract, within the social construct itself. It doesn't apply outside of the construct, because here is an important factor to shame that a lot of people don't get, and that is the fact that shame only works, it is only effective if the individual being shamed values the opinions or seeks the approval of the individual administering the shame in the first place. If the recipient of the shame does not seek association with or approval from the administering individual, then shame is ineffective in correcting the behavior. Okay? So if this fool is acting up and they show up, let's say you're at a public gathering, right? Your tribe is there, and then this kid from another, some teenager from another tribe who you have no ties with, nothing like that. They're outside your social circle, begins to act a fool. And you've never interacted with them before. You don't even know who their parents are. You attempt to apply shame to this child. They say that, look, that's not okay. You're acting immaturely, inappropriately, and you should really fix this behavior. The kid's going to laugh it off and run off because you're not their parent. You got nothing to do with them. You're not part of their social construct. You try to apply shame outside of the social construct, and it doesn't work that way. It works within the construct because that person to whom you are applying the shame values your opinion, and that person wants to be a part of the social construct. And so the fear of being ostracized from the social construct gives the whole cognitive dissonance and impetus for them to go through the process of actually fixing the behavior in the first place. Now, ultimately, where I see this coming into play in modern society is that we see people reach out and try to apply shame in instances where it's ineffective, which, okay, I get it. In a shame-based culture, that's going to be your go-to. You're going to try and apply shame and see if it works. But it's not going to work all the time. It's going to be ineffective at times, and there will be other measures that have to be taken. Usually the ostracizing of the individual or application of intertribal pressures to try and correct behaviors. So, you can't shame an individual that you don't have any power over. And this is where I start to see things go awry, particularly in the online communities. All right? Now, I don't like online heathenry, says the guy doing an online video series about heathenry. I don't particularly care for online heathenry, and here's why. Most people don't take the approach that I do. I am very out there and open with my information. I will tell you straight up, this is just how I see the world. This is not the end-all be-all. I'm not going to tell you you're doing it wrong if you do it differently than me. I'm just giving some insight in how I do things so that it may light a fire for some people, it may help them, whatever. I get a lot of feedback. Matter of fact, I just got a pop-up while filming this one of somebody thanking me for one of the other videos that I put up that would have gone out today. So, I don't particularly care for online heathenry because when you get into like those Facebook groups or Reddits or things like that, what I find is that people misinterpret what shame is in its application to correct behaviors in an online setting, okay? Now remember what I said before about shame only works within the social construct, okay? It can work between tribes, it can work between entities because you exist to a larger social construct, but you'd be allied tribes, or there is some kind of, when you've got two social constructs that then have to interact with one another, they form a new level of social construct that is community or whatever, And so within the community, these different social constructs interact, and you are within, again, a larger social contract. It only exists once these entities begin to interact. So if you have something that's outside of that social construct and outside that social contract, you will not have any results from shame, okay? That's just on the efficacy of shame. Where people miss the boat is that people seem to conflate shame with ridicule and humiliation. All right? Let's go back to the Bjorn and Arne situation. Okay? Now, Arne did something stupid, and Bjorn confronts him. He communicates his displeasure and his disappointment to Arne, and then Arne, seeking Bjorn's approval and seeking that association with Bjorn, fixes it because it matters to him then. Bjorn did not have to chastise the boy, call him an idiot, call him a moron, call him a good-for-nothing wastrel. He didn't have to do any of these things that humiliate or demean the child. If any of you have experienced this before, and I'm sure a number of you have, it's the knowing father who, with a glance and that look, can make you feel about this tall because you know you should have done this. And then that sense of disappointment just washes over you like a tidal wave. Bosses do it. Anybody that's in a position of power, whose approval you seek, their disappointment is the most poignant thing that you can have and the most effective thing in correcting behavior. As long as you actually value that opinion and seek their approval. If you don't, like a teenager who does not value, say, the teacher's opinion, who doesn't value their parents' opinion because of where they are in their social development, it's actually age appropriate in a lot of ways. It's a whole different thing. But anyway, of course the shame doesn't work for them in that instance, because when you say you're so disappointed, then they go, okay, whatever, I don't care, and they go on about their business because it doesn't matter. Now, it's more complex than that with the teenagers. They actually do care, but because of the way the brain is developing at the time, they're rebelling against established social contracts, and so it's a thing. Anyway, so the disappointment itself can be communicated through constructive manners and through peaceful, direct communication. It can be subtle communication. The thing about communication is that you have a message, you want the other person to understand the message, and so you pass the message along through a medium that the other person will understand what you intended it to mean in the first place. Okay? Language is this way, written language is this way. It all boils down to communication only works if both sides understand what the message is meant to be, and understanding what the intended purpose of the message is. Okay? So in the instance of dealing with shame in this situation, Bjorn is letting Arne know that he's disappointed. He's not calling them these names that are listed off before. What I'm experiencing online particularly, and it's not all the time, okay? Keep that in mind. It's not everybody. I'm calling out some specific instances where I have seen people chased off because of the way people think they're applying shame and they're not. What they apply is ridicule and humiliation. Ridicule and humiliation. Okay? Humiliation is applied specifically to hurt an individual. It is not a corrective mechanism. Humiliation is used to attack the integrity and internal sense of self-worth of the individual. When applied, it damages that individual. It is an attack upon the integrity of that person. It is not a behavioral corrective mechanism. It is an attack, which puts that person on the defensive, which means they're infinitely less likely to actually listen to what you have to say. Okay? So, when a person, a neophyte, comes onto an online forum and poses a question that is rudimentary, maybe misguided because they've been ill-informed and don't know what they're getting into. Now, of course, the social construct of the Facebook page indicates that, you know, there's rules there, they should listen and follow the rules, etc., etc., etc. And that this person then weighs in it doesn't necessarily follow the rules, etc., etc., etc. Yes, shame can be applied to correct this behavior. Be like, look, okay, because here's the way that it should be handled, all right? Somebody from the group pulls that individual to the side and says, look, you need to go over the rules of the group. There's a proper way to go about this. And with this particular group, we expect you to have a certain amount of background information from the get-go. So please do this and then come back in when you are ready and join the conversation. Okay? You know, bars to entry, proving of worth, that's all appropriate within a heathen context. It's fine. If it's an open group that's open for discussion and you know, wide open as far as the people coming in, things like that, then of course a simple, hey, that's not really how we do things here. Here's how we do, you know, a little education based. And I see a lot of people that do this, okay? The ones that get me are the ones that engage in trollish behavior, done specifically to either make fun of, roast, ridicule, humiliate, or in some way demean or degrade the individual that made the misguided statement in the first place, okay? And they do this under the guise of shaming the individual. No. You're not shaming the individual in this. Shaming the individual would be to call attention to the negative behavior and be like, in the comments, say, that's not an appropriate way to handle this in this particular group. That meme is blatantly racist and is inappropriate to what we do here. That's not going to be acceptable. You know, if you continue to do these things, you're going to be seen as a racist and cast out of the page. That kind of stuff, you know? It's an appropriate application. Jumping on and saying things specifically to attack the individual, you know, spoken like a true noob. You know, do some research. Get out there and actually do something first. Make something of yourself before you come in here and try to, you know, you get in there and you start attacking and you start digging. What you're implying is that this person's an idiot and they've weighed in way over their head. They're not an idiot, they're a neophyte. They're trying to get information. They're doing exactly what you've already done. The only difference is that they're going about it in a different manner. They're seeking out the wisdom of other learned individuals to try and teach them how to do the thing that this learned individual is good at. Yeah, maybe they haven't gone and pored over ancient dusty tomes to find this information, but guess what? Not everybody does that. Not everybody's good at that. Not everybody's like me. Not everybody's like some of the other individuals in the older guard who like to pore over ancient tomes, who like to read these things, and who like to do the deep thinking and interacting. But they still want to learn. Some need to learn through practical methods. Some need to learn through spoken word. Hence the YouTube channel. I put this out there because there are individuals out there who do not learn well from reading dusty tomes. Because guess what? Our ancestors didn't learn from reading dusty tomes. They learned because learned individuals told them what they needed to know. They taught them how to do the things they needed to do. That's all I'm trying to do here. Now, when people jump onto a heathenry page or some other kind of Facebook page, group, Reddit, whatever it may be, when they jump onto one of these groups and one of the established members is so tired of dealing with rudimentary introductory questions and whatnot that they just lash out at them with vitriol and humiliating remarks, all that does is put up the defenses of this individual, and it's bullying behavior, it's bullish behavior from an individual who is in an imagined position of power. They put themselves in that position of power because this individual coming in is seeking information. They know that they contain this information that this individual wants. That puts them in a position of power. They utilize that position of power to demean and humiliate and degrade this other individual seeking the information, and in the process elevate themselves even higher in their own minds because they have poor self-esteem and other psychological stuff going on. So But the kicker is, they will say they are shaming this individual and that heathenry is a shame-based culture and that this is appropriate. No, it's not appropriate. You're being a dick. All right? That's all it is. You're being a dick. And that's not cool. All right? Shame can be applied in a respectful manner. There is a reciprocity of responsibility within shame. And one of the responsibilities is the responsibility of respect. And if you're not showing respect to the other individual, then you're failing in your part of the shame responsibilities. You know? That's just how it is. And what you're going to end up doing is chasing that person off. All right? You got a neophyte who's coming to you for information. You chase them off. They go find somebody else who gives them BS information, bad information, sucks them into some, white supremacist group, some racially charged group who fills their head full of nonsense. And then you've lost them. And they're not coming back because they're off in the cult at that point. You could have stepped in and you could have done something. Yeah, they're not your in guard. I get that. They're not part of your social construct. I get that. But guess what actually does impact your in guard? Guess what does impact your social construct? The way you handle those people in those situations, because everybody else is looking in. All those other individuals on the page are looking to see how your tribe, and you as a representative of said tribe, handle these neophytes, handle these individuals, how you handle these situations, and then they're judging you based on that. And they will apply shame or honor based on how you go about it. If you're open, you're understanding, you're sharing of information, at least point people in the right direction, expressing why you feel the way you do, letting people know, hey, look, I'm not going to share everything with you because a lot of this stuff is personal and I don't want to share that. And I also don't want to influence how you end up where you end up. That needs to be you. That needs to be a very personal thing for you. Okay, communicate that. Don't just call them an idiot and chase them off thinking they're going to figure it out themselves. We're not in a guilt-based culture. We're in a shame-based culture. And that means that you actively engage in the corrective process. It is not humiliation. It is not ridicule. Those are not synonymous. All right? That is, I know that modern vernacular will lose the subtle differences in linguistic variations. But let me assure you, shame does not equal humiliation. That is not the same thing in the slightest. Okay? The basis on all of this, and where my whole tirade is going, is that I see people missing the boat, all right? I see people applying humiliation and ridicule instead of shame, and then calling it shame, and damaging both their reputations with people that actually know, as well as chasing off neophytes that might learn something and might be a benefit either to your tribe or somebody else's. That's part of the reason I do what I do, is because I never know when one of these individuals is going to become something in the community that may one day benefit my tribe and my Enengar. I may inadvertently help somebody along the path to building a great tribe in the area that could become an allied tribe for my own. And then we all become stronger because of this. That would be amazing. That would be cool. I may inadvertently spark the interest of someone who is a complete and total neophyte who would have been turned off by one of the big groups and being chased out of there for being called an idiot or made to look like a fool in front of everyone. And they would, in that instance, just never come back because those heathen guys are a bunch of dicks and there's no reason for me to go there. I may actually spark their interest and get them to learn something, and then they turn out to be a member of my tribe in the future. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. So it doesn't take anything to step back and be nice for a minute. I'm not saying all sunshine and rainbows and stuff like that. I'm not saying we got to watch every single word we say and be PC and all of that. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm a middle of the road kind of guy. But I will say there's no reason to be a jerk online if you don't have to be. And I've seen the same thing in public gatherings too. I've seen the same things at social gatherings, at big heathen gatherings, things like that, wherein People will try to apply shame where it shouldn't be applied, and most often they confuse ridicule and humiliation with shame. Not the same thing, okay? If you make an ass out of somebody on a public setting, all they're going to do is build negative feelings towards you and reject your social construct in the first place. It's damaging, it's not building, so I would lay off the ridicule and the humiliation, okay? So, this is where I'm going to draw things to a close. I just realized that I've hit like a half hour on this particular video after the half hour that I did on the previous one. Obviously, I can talk all day long on shame versus guilt culture in modern heathen settings and societies. What I'm going to leave you guys with is this. Think about what you do. Think about what you say. Think about where you go. You know, when you're interacting with other people, the give and take of shame culture is a constant thing. You are constantly adding pluses and minuses to your scorecard, which affect your reputation, both as an individual, family unit, and as a tribe as a whole within the social construct based on the social contract. Keep these things in mind. Think about them from time to time and understand that people outside of our culture aren't going to understand that. They're not going to get why you feel like you need to do something. You know, yeah, okay, maybe you accidentally bumped that old lady going down the shopping aisle. You know, helping her pick her things up is one thing, but you know, you pushing her cart up to the counter for her is another, and you're wasting their time. And they're like, why are you doing this? It's like, you don't understand. I need to get a +1 here, okay? It's like, I just hit a -1. I need a +1 on this. So let me do this, all right? I need this for me. Because building that through the shame process, you can build renown, but you can also reinforce the integrity and the sense of self-worth of an individual, because they're doing their part, they're doing above and beyond, and they earn all of that, okay? It's about earned rewards, and it's about earned punishments. So keep all that in mind. Now, if you like today's video, if you like the last couple of videos, if you like any of my videos, hit subscribe on the channel. Ding the bell down below, and what you'll see is that if you just subscribe to the channel, it's not enough. You need to ding the bell in order to see all of my videos, to get the full update on everything. So make sure you ding the notification bell, like the videos, share the videos from the page, comment on the videos. The more you interact with my videos and other videos like mine, the more like mine you will see. You will see more of mine, if that's what you want, but you'll also see more by other people like me. And there are other people out there doing stuff like me. Artharger overseas is doing some really cool stuff. I know he shows up in my, you know, your channel is like this. So I've watched a lot of his stuff. I like a lot of his stuff. We disagree on some points, but the guy's got some interesting stuff, so you may check him out. Jackson Crawford shows up as one of those. Your channel is similar to things as well. So dig those. Check out my Facebook page at Word-Weaver Productions on Facebook. I approve everybody that comes in. So if you hit join the group and it says, you know, requested, don't worry, I'm gonna approve it. I approve everybody. I wish I could set it to auto do, but I'm not sure where the hang up on that particular setting is. So anyway, I will add you, don't worry about it. So you can follow me on Twitter if you want to. That's E_Sjerven. Look at the channel name to see how to spell my name. You can email me with any particular questions. I reply to all emails, comments, all of that stuff as soon as I can. I have a busy job too. So esjerven@gmail.com. I also am on Saraha. There's a link for that down in the comments below. Feel free to jump on there and leave me some anonymous feedback. Let me know how you feel. I'll be honest. You know, you like, you dislike, whatever. Let me know. You just want to be silly. You want to quote, you know, Lovecraft, or you know, I'm a big Lovecraft fan, or you know, Welcome to Night Vale. You know, great podcast. So if you want to, you know, quote some of those things at me, throw it in the Saraha down below. I get a kick out of it. It's funny. So give me feedback, guys. That's how I know what you like. That's how I know where you want to go with these channels. And we build and we grow together. As long as you guys keep interacting, keep giving me feedback, I'm going to keep doing. So thank you guys. Hail. Have a good day.